Dear LSE community, I'm Diego Hernandez, an MSc student in the European Institute's Culture and Conflict in Global Europe program, and I am campaigning for your vote to sit on the LSE SU's Democratic Committee. This is the official launch of my campaign, one that will be digital this year. I will not be canvassing, there will be no booth, and it will be entirely paperless. My campaign, like our campus, is COVID secure. I wish to begin this address by acknowledging the moment in which we have all found ourselves. This has undoubtedly been a very trying year and has put extra responsibility and stress on all of us. To those who have been sick, quarantining, who have been otherwise impacted by the virus, I extend my deepest sympathies and my thoughts will remain with you. For those who are here despite all that has stood in your way, who have faced what has seemed to be insurmountable, and your accomplishments deserve applause. Beyond all obstacles, you persevered and you achieved. Studying at the LSE has been a dream of mine since I began in two-year college in California 6 years ago. I dreamt of what it would be like to be one of you, a high-achieving brainiac with all kinds of vast knowledge on the subjects that you are best at. I wish that one day I, too, would know something so well that I could hold conversation with you in the library while walking around the LSE, or sitting in a group with our coffees on a typically London rainy day. While the possibilities have changed with our circumstances, I am still incredibly fortunate to share this COVID secure space with you. After several weeks of being among you, it is clear that my imagination did not do you or the LSE community justice. You are all far more inspiring than I imagined. I hope that the uncertainty and health dangers of this year do not keep you from safely enjoying your time at the LSE, making wonderful friends, building on your past accomplishments, and following your dreams despite all hardships. And the fact that you are here is testament to your commitment. It is while knowing this, that each of you is a rock star, that I have nominated myself to serve on the Democratic Committee. Your voice is incredibly important in how this community is run. So, some of you are reading this may come from a political system where your voice and your rights have been suppressed, especially for those for which this is true. It is my honor to know that you're reading my words, and for this year, I will share the LSE space with you. If you elect me to sit on the Democratic Committee this academic year, I will ensure that none of the LSE community is the victim of Democrats backsliding. The Democracy Committee holds a unique space in the LSE-SU, and its mission is to guarantee that the LSE-SU abides by formal procedures that are in place to allow each of us a say in student governance. Democratic Committee members are often the first line of defense for the democratic process. If you have any type of complaint, the Democratic Committee is available to help. In that capacity, members must ensure that the LSE-SU has strict adherence to all the regulations, bylaws, and the like that govern their actions in any given year. Democratic Committee members serve as approachable intermediaries between the LSE governance apparatus, the university, and you. If I am elected, I will not enter the position as a gatekeeper that will favor the LSE-SU and shut you out. I will work relentlessly to ensure that your voice is heard and that all parameters for democratic procedure are met. In fact, if I am elected, I will work with the committee and colleagues in the LSE-SU to establish more ways for you to send us your concerns and your thoughts you have for how we can make the LSE-SU more democratically inclusive. As long as regulations allow, I will be reachable by email throughout the year and will seek out other avenues for open dialogue. If elected, I'll get to work immediately to prevent any backsliding. You won't have to constantly monitor me to make sure that I've kept your interests at the top of my agenda. But just because I won't need to be monitored doesn't mean that I will not make it possible. I won't operate in secrecy. I'll work with other Democratic Committee members to make our progress as transparent and open to your input as possible. And no matter how busy I become, you'll always be able to monitor my progress. I began in elected representative roles a very long time ago. I was elected in three 3 consecutive term cycles, and I served as vice president of the student body in my primary school. My largest concern then was democratic inclusion. I wanted everyone who wanted something to say to be able to speak and be heard, and this remains my focus today. Fairness and transparency are my guiding principles. To that end, I have challenged unfair practices that disadvantage students and made the community less democratic. In college, the elected student council had a measure to allocate themselves a greater portion of student fees that have been held in surplus from that year and years prior. In official election materials, some of the council members misrepresented the amount of student fees that would be paid out in stipends to each of them, writing that the student body would stand to benefit from increased services. This was not the case. I became aware of this 2 days before the student body was set to begin voting, and by that evening I had issued an emergency request to the college's administration to stay the election until the measure could be independently reviewed. The following morning, the college's administration wrote to the campus committee to announce the legitimacy of the measure had been challenged, and that due to concerns, the measure would not be put to vote. As far as I know, the measure to this day has not appeared before that student body. I also led an effort to erase the minimum grade point average that was previously required to serve on the student representative body at my college. I believe that student representation should reflect the entire student body, not only the students at the top of their class or the ones that are the most popular. This effort was unsuccessful, but I deeply believe that if you're a student who struggles to get top marks, your participation matters just as much as those who receive distinctions. In the first year of my undergraduate education, I was nominated by faculty to serve on a committee that advised the dean of the entire social sciences division at that university. In that position, I was the sole representative of my undergraduate political science department and worked closely with my peers from other disciplines to create a better, more democratic environment. We were problem solvers and we addressed everything from student homelessness to student well-being and safety. I served in that role for 2 years. If you elect me to serve as a member of the Democratic Committee, I pledge to protect the power held in your voice, to help transform our community in a more democratic space, and make myself and the Democratic Committee available to hear your concerns and suggestions and act on them whenever possible. I will serve with loyalty to the regulations under which this committee is formed, with acknowledgement that these regulations are supposed to allow your input to the greatest degree possible. If there are possibilities for improvement, your bright ideas and our care for the shared community will be a much appreciated resource that I look forward to receiving. I wish all of you the very best this year, and I thank you for giving me your time and consideration. Sincerely, Diego Hernandez.